Greetings. Do without wilt shall be the whole of the law. I'm Lexi Eve, and welcome back to another Walk Magick video. So let me just start off by saying Happy New Year. Today is January 9th, 2025, so it's a little bit late. I intended on doing this recording on the 1st of January as a nice way to start off the new year. However, my fiance got the flu, brought it home. I got the flu, and so I spent the first week of the new year pretty much in bed recovering. So with that, I've been really looking forward to recording this video, and today we're going to be talking about Liber Tzaddi. So I'm going to give a pretty much line-by-line analysis of the Holy Book. There's a lot of interesting things. There are some major callbacks to the Book of the Law, and in this text you basically get a really interesting description of the nature of Ra-Hoor-Khuit. The text gives a lot of insights into personality traits of the deity, symbolism associated with the deity, but the text also is very instructional in many ways. So without further ado, let's begin. The full title of the text is Liber Tzaddi vel Hamis Hermeticus, subfigure 90. Tzaddi is, in Hebrew, a hook-shaped letter. And of course, every letter in Hebrew is very fiery in essence by the way they look. A lot of them have these little yods in places that give the appearance of embers or sparks of light. The letter Tzaddi itself means fishhook, and the Latin name of this text, Hamis Hermeticus, actually means the hermetic hook. The subfigure 90 is the value of the letter Tzaddi. What this is alluding to, the hermetic hook, in the Lima it's referring to the holy guardian angel as a fisher of men, so it harkens onto that Christ fisherman symbolism. I will make ye fishers of men. So basically, one, it has a dual nature, the title. First, it's talking about the holy guardian angel hooking you in, right? So at first, you're the fish. After you achieve knowledge and conversation, the adept, they become the fisher of men. Especially a master who's coming to union on such a sublime level with the holy guardian angel. That union with the HGA gives an identity with it, and so it's masters of the temple whose job it is essentially to really be responsible for helping humanity along, helping our evolution, our conscious evolution, all of those type of things. So a fisher of men is, I guess you could say, essentially somebody who is there trying to look for those who are aspiring towards the path, and be ready with your nets, with your fish hook, so that when somebody comes into your path, you are able to best assist them onto the path, get them out of the water and onto the path, so to speak. So that's the title. Let's dive into the main body of text. There are 45 verses in the text, but they're numbered 0 through 44. 44 is the number of Horus, or Ra-Hoor-Khuit, Hera-Raha. It's 11 times 4, 11 being the number of magic, 4 being the number of the material plane, the 4 elements, Yod, He, Vav, He, the 4 elements. Those elements make up the physical reality, existence. So it's magic upon matter, I guess you could say. 45 is the number of Saturn. So there's a number associated with matter. And as we're going to see in the main body of text here, Ra-Hoor-Khuit is very particularly interested in existence and the physical world in which we live. So to start off, in the name of the Lord of Initiation, Amen. So that first quote right there, the first opening line, the Lord of the Initiation is Horus, and that comes back to a verse in the Book of the Law, chapter 1, verse 49. It's at the end of a paragraph in that verse. quote, Hor, in his secret name and splendor, is the Lord initiating, end quote. So one other thing about the opening verse 0, it starts off, the scribe is speaking, so it's in the name of the Lord of initiation, amen. So it's like giving praise unto this deity, unto Ra-Hoor-Khuit. Verse 1, I fly and I alight as an hawk. Of mother of emerald are my mighty sweeping wings. Two interesting things right off the bat. I fly and alight. So the symbolism of a hawk flying, a hawk can see prey very, very far down they have excellent vision. So the imagery of a hawk flying, seeing the world from above, in my mind is very reminiscent of the Ajna, the all-seeing eye of God, the eye of Horus. That which, once open, can see reality for what it is, can see all, is above all things and can see all, right? And alight means to come down, especially with a bird. So alight as a hawk means that this bird has now touched down on the earth. So there's an interesting above and below aspect to Horus as a hawk. I fly above and I alight down onto the earth, above and below. And that's very reminiscent of Nuit in chapter 1. There's two quotes that come to mind. So, I am above you and in you. But also down in verse 26 of chapter 1, quote, so she answered him, bending down, a lamp in flame of blue, all touching, all penetrant, her lovely hands upon the black earth, and her lithe body arched for love, and her soft feet not hurting the little flowers. So she has to bend down. So she is the night sky, but she's also upon the earth. And what is very interesting to me about this connection with Nuit, there'll be connections with Hadith later on, but the child is the offspring of the two parents, so there should be some type of nature of the parents inherent in the child. So I think it's interesting that symbolism is made present. So there's a definite connection with aspects of Nuit, and later on there'll be aspects of Hadith. So that's the opening of verse 1. I fly and I alight as a hawk. So he's upon the earth, but he's also above the earth. All-seeing and all-present, right? Of mother of emerald are my mighty sweeping wings. As far as I'm aware, there is no such thing as mother of emerald. Like there is mother of pearl. But I guess mother of emerald, it just is meant to insinuate the emerald stone as a very grand stone. Emerald is associated with Netzach, which is Venus, the sphere of Venus in Kabbalah, which is symbolic of love. So these mighty sweeping wings, yes, though they're powerful, though he is a god of war and vengeance, there is an aspect of love associated with Ra-Hoor-Khuit as well. Verse 2, I swoop down upon the black earth, and it gladdens into green at my coming. So he's present. He was flying, now he is present. So it's almost like a small invocation has been made by giving praise in the name of the Lord of initiation, amen. And then Horus starts speaking immediately. And so it's like Horus is here. The new Aeon is here. The black earth gladdens into green at my coming. So in Hermetic Kabbalah and Hermeticism, and especially in Egypt, there's the red land, but there's also the black land, black soil, the very fertile land. Earth has long been associated with the color black. Even if you look at most depictions of the Tree of Life, Malkuth will be depicted with an X with 4 colors in each quarter of the sphere, one of the most prominent of which is black. And that would go also for the rosy cross symbolism depictions. If you notice in like Crowley's Thoth Tarot on the back of the cards, there's a rosy cross, and that bottom segment associated with Malkuth is actually now green. So what that's saying is 2 things. The old Aeon is dying and decaying, but out of decay and rot comes new life, right? It's kind of think of like a pumpkin in November after Halloween's done. Most people put it into their backyard or any type of food. It rots, it turns into this black gunk, this soil, and then you're able to reuse it, right? So it's a recycling process. So what was once black and barren is now coming into spring. So and there's almost like a transition from the Aeon of Osiris, which could very well be associated with the winter solstice, the dying and reborn god, into the child, springtime. So there's that symbolism as well. But to emphasize the color green a second time is associated with Venus and love. So love also breeds creation, breeds life. So there's a lot going on about his nature already just in the first 3 verses. Now Horus addresses humanity, essentially. Children of earth, rejoice. Rejoice exceedingly, for your salvation is at hand. Okay, it's very straightforward. So he's addressing everybody on the earth, all of humanity. And he's saying, be glad at the coming. In the book of the law, there's a lot of, I'm a god of war and vengeance, I will deal hardly with them. Well, yeah, sometimes children need a parent to have a stern hand or a stern voice, and that's not always pleasant. Think about being a child when you do something wrong, you see your parent's face, it could be very terrifying, and that tells you, like, oh, I shouldn't do that thing anymore. So their discipline is probably a good part of his nature when it comes to dealing with humanity, because look at the state of humanity. We all make mistakes, but there are so many of us who refuse to change, and so change is coming. Salvation is at hand. To continue, verse 4, the end of sorrow is come. I will ravish you away to mine unutterable joy. So a lot of old Aeonic systems of attainment, whether it's Buddhism, Christianity, list goes on, a lot of them are centered on this melancholy state of depression. Life is sorrow, life is suffering, you're going to hell, you're a sinner, you have to repent, you are evil, you are a terrible person, you should have done that better. And there's always a lot of finger wagging from somebody in a pulpit, right? The end of sorrow is come. I will ravish you away into mine unutterable joy. So in the book of the law, existence is pure joy, we are told. And so that's a new revelation on the nature of existence, that it's ecstasy. But there's a way to achieve that ecstasy. It's not innate. You have to work towards that as a human. Yes, it is innate. It should be our natural condition. However, we as humans actively strive away from that, right? We're always getting in our own ways. Now is a time where we're going to be either getting out of our own ways or we're going to get dragged a little bit. Verse 5, I will kiss you, I will bring you to the bridal. I will spread a feast before you in the house of happiness. This verse is very reminiscent of Tifereth to me and the Holy Guardian Angel. So it's the union. And Ra-Hoor-Khuit is associated with Tifereth, the sun, the seat of the Holy Guardian Angel. In many ways, I've often heard it said Ra-Hoor-Khuit is a placeholder for the Holy Guardian Angel. And then once you achieve union with the HGA, you work primarily with that, even though you're still bound by the forces. That's a whole other situation, but there is a connection with Ra-Hoor-Khuit and the Holy Guardian Angel. I will spread a feast before you in the house of happiness. Tifereth is a house of joy. It's a sphere of ecstatic solar. The soul is a very joyful sphere. So that's what verse 5 is alluding to. Verse 6, I am not come to rebuke you or to enslave you. This is another deviation from old Aeonic systems where God is in charge and you have to bow your heads and repent and, all of that stuff. So, Crowley often writes about the slave gods, and I'm not going to get into that topic at this time, maybe in a future talk, but especially Abrahamic religions are very dogmatic and slave-driven. Even in some cultures, like where there's caste systems, It's almost slavery to a great extent, and they're following whether Hindu or Buddhist traditions and finding ways for the text to justify why those systems are in accordance with the way their society is built around. So slavery is ended. We are now in the Aeon of the Child, the Lima. It's all about liberty, self-efficiency, self-sustainability, self-reliance, doing what you need to do for yourself, true will, all of those concepts. So, and many times, especially in the Blue Equinox, Crowley writes a lot about how we're liberated. The message of the Master Therion is liberation, right? So it's the same message that's in accordance with this verse. Verse 7, verse 8, and verse 9, I'm going to read together. I bid you not turn from your voluptuous ways, from your idleness, from your follies, but I bring you joy to your pleasure, peace to your languor, wisdom to your folly. All that ye do is right, if so be that ye enjoy him. So, this 3 verses could be very dangerous if misunderstood. Ra-Hoor-Khuit is saying, I bid you not turn from your voluptuous ways, from your idleness, from your follies. That's fine. Do what you feel you need to do. If it even says in the Book of the Law, excess and strive ever to more, those are fine things. However, but I bring you joy to your pleasure, peace to your languor, wisdom to your folly. So be sure that the things that you're doing are the things that are in accordance with your true will. If you don't know what your true will is, I suggest you find out what your true will is. Because if you don't know what your true will is, you're going to make a big mess, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to hurt yourself. And this sounds very gentle. I bring you wisdom to your folly. Yeah, through really hard learning lessons sometimes, when you don't get the message the first time, and even sometimes you make a big enough mistake that on the first time you pay consequences. There's consequences to actions. So this is not a free-for-all. Everybody says it's do what thou wilt, not do what you want. And that's so overly stated that people almost ignore it at this point. The reality is, when you're not doing your true will, you're hurting yourself, and you're hurting others, and you may even be hurting the environment or things around you that should not be damaged by your ignorance. And you're going to learn from that. That's the thing. So, do what thou wilt is not do what you want. It goes unsaid that there are fucking consequences for your actions. There are disciplinary actions for your consequences. So, keep in mind that all that ye do is right, if so be that ye enjoy it. That's very dangerous if you don't understand that last verse too, because, we enjoy plenty of things that are not good for us, but then we pay the consequences for them later. So one, if you're willing to pay those consequences, have at it. And you have the right to do anything you feel you need to do. You're liberated, you're responsible for yourself. The other side is, well, are you just seeking momentary instant gratification right now, and then later on you're going to suffer and complain and bitch about it? So that's not really enjoying what you did. So you have to have foresight into your actions. Hey, if I slam my head against the wall, is that going to hurt later? Right? If I eat 10 pounds of sugar a day because it feels really good while I'm eating it, is that going to kill me much sooner than I should be killed? And was my true will to the right to life, the right to live, self-preservation, was my true will self-preservation? Well, does eating 10 pounds of sugar a day give me self-preservation? Well, okay, if it doesn't, then either my will was not to live very long, or my will was not to eat that sugar. And so before you take an action like that, thinking, oh, I could do whatever I want if I enjoy it, well, see what the outcome of that is going to be, and really know yourself. Is my will self-preservation, or is my will eating 10 pounds of sugar? It's going to make me happy now, but I'm going to die tomorrow from doing that, right? So you have to weigh into account what your actions are going to do in a day, in a week. So you have to try to have foresight. And sometimes it's impossible to see the outcomes of our actions, and you have to do them anyway because you feel you need to do them. But you're going to learn from that one way or another down the line. So again, the magical diary is very important for these reasons. Verse 10, I am come against sorrow, against weariness, against them that seek to enslave you. Very simple. And there's a lot of imagery with flowers and the watering of the earth and pulling of weeds. We'll get into that later in this text. But there's a lot of changes already set into motion as of 1904 in the reception of the Book of the Law. So, sorrow, weariness, and them that seek to enslave you. Those are three big factors that are coming to change. So when people are trying to take advantage of others and use others for their own selfish means and not allow them their own liberty in the process, when you're living in a state of sorrow instead of joy, and weariness, when you feel like I should be doing my will. Let's say you know what your will is, but I feel like I should be doing my will, but I just don't want to do it anymore. Those are all things that are indicating that you've lost the thread. And later on in the text, talks about the thread of the groves of Eleusis. So I'll come back to this verse in a moment. Verse 11, I pour you lustral wine that give you delight both at the sunset and at dawn. Sunset is generally considered symbolism of the beginning of life. Sunset is the end of life. The east is the beginning of life. The west is the end of life. You'll see that in a lot of Masonic orders. They use that symbolism still. And lustral wine, I'm assuming, is, which he'll talk about in a second, the dew of immortality, Amrita, the nectar of the gods, all of those type of things. And so this is my opinion, right? You can have your own opinions, whatever those are. It's fine. Different views are fine. A person who has partaken of the elixir of life understands their body is going to die. You may be able to preserve it in certain ways for a longer duration by doing certain things, healthier things. Magical ritual definitely preserves youth to a certain extent. But regardless, body is going to die. However, partaking of the elixir vitae, in my experience, really gives you that understanding of the connection with the unity of reality, the unity of nature, the unity of God, the unity of the human soul, of existence and what's beyond existence as all this one thing. So if you're part of this one thing, you understand your immortality as part of that one thing that's never going to end. We're always part of this cycle. We're always part of this great beyond. Even if you achieve nirvana, there is still that energy present. And so you could go back into that energy and cease to exist in any type of ego sense or anything. You're in union with divinity at an absolute level, right? But you're still part of that divinity on that infinite level. So you're always going, that's the understanding of immortality. So what this is saying is he will give you, and let me just read a couple more lines. Verse 12, come with me and I will give you all that is desirable on earth. Because I give you that of which earth and its joys are but as shadows. They fleet away, but my joy abideth even unto the end. This is very reminiscent of the Book of the Law, chapter 2. Remember all ye that existence is pure joy, that all the sorrows are but as shadows. They pass and are done, but there is that which remains. Verse 12 had opened up saying that everything that is desirable upon the earth, Ra-Hoor-Khuit will give unto you. Of course, this is what's in accordance with your true will when you're doing your true will. Crowley has that very famous quote that I like. A person doing their true will has the inertia of the universe to assist them. If you're doing your true will, you will get exactly what you need to do your true will. Therefore, everything that you desire will be given to you so you could do that true will. Doesn't mean you're going to win the lottery or something like that unless that's your true will. But, you know, whatever that process is, you will be given so that you could do that will. So So that's a promise that he's making here. And 13, because, there's a lot with the word because in chapter 2 and even chapter 3. Because I give you that of which earth and its joys are but as shadows. So we're here for a very limited time. Even our joy, our sorrow, whatever we experience in this incarnation is going to be in the past in a second, in a year, in 10 years, and eventually this incarnation will come to an end and we will cease to be. And so in the meantime, in the interim, what we're doing is we're evolving our universe. We've come to a point where we are now conscious, and we could consciously interact with the evolution of our universe. And that should come with some kind of level of responsibility. If you're aware that, hey, my actions are actually rearranging things in the universe and causing changes, and those changes are part of the evolution of the universe, there should be some level of responsibility associated with those actions. We have a limited time in this incarnation. Do what you need to do. Do your true will. You've incarnated for a purpose, according to the book of the law. That's the whole point of the Lima, is that you've incarnated for a purpose. You are a conscious part of God for a purpose. Fulfill that purpose. And then verse 14, they flee away, but my joy abideth even unto the end. So whatever's transient, existence is pure joy at this point, as far as the book of the law is concerned. Maybe that'll change in the next aeon, and we'll have some other type of descriptive for the nature of existence, but joy abideth unto the end. I think that's pretty straightforward. So if you're doing your true will, you really get that sense of fulfillment, happiness, joy, ecstasy. When you're doing ritual, also you get that sense of joy, ecstasy, everything I just listed. And so the ultimate portion of anybody's true will, in my opinion, is to come back into union with divinity. That's the ultimate goal. However, once things have incarnated, once physical things are here from that spiritual source, they are going to be physical. And so nature is going to keep recycling. But you could still come into union with the spiritual because it's part of us while in physical form. And so that's an ultimate part of the true will, is remaining in physical form while experiencing that peak ultimate spiritual state. And that really, whether it's in ritual or yoga or whatever you do to get that to that state of being, that really does give a sense of ecstasy, joy, and fulfillment that is unrivaled, in my opinion. Verse 15, I have hidden myself beneath a mask. I am a black and terrible God. This is calling back to the Golden Dawn. I don't like talking about initiation rituals so much because, if somebody's doing Golden Dawn work and it ruins a reveal. So, spoiler alert, and if you don't want to hear this, just pause the video or skip ahead a minute. The initiator takes off a mask, and it's Osiris revealing, and they speak the words, I am a black and terrible God, right? And so it comes back to that opening line of this text. Horus is the Lord initiating, so he's hidden himself beneath a mask. I'm a black and terrible God. Black being the color of Saturn, again, the color of earth or density, darkness, space-time. So there's some connections there with Ra-Hoor-Khuit and the symbolism going on. With courage conquering fear shall ye approach me. Ye shall lay down your heads upon mine altar, expecting the sweep of the sword. But the first kiss of love shall be radiant on your lips, and all my darkness and terror shall turn to light and joy. All right, so bravery and courage doesn't mean to, in my opinion, to not have any fear at all. It's a natural human response to stimuli. You could be in control of it to a great extent, but there should be some type of level of self-preservation. When you get angry, it's because somebody endangered your being, and you have that will to live, right? Courage is to take actions regardless if you're experiencing fear, to not let it freeze you up. fear is failure and the forerunner of failure, right? As it says in Liber. But to have courage or to be brave is to, fear is a natural chemical response in the brain, but I still have to do my true will. It doesn't matter if I'm afraid of doing my true will, I still have to do it. In terms of initiation, it's, you come into any occult system, you don't really understand what's happening. I'm learning about myself, I'm learning about nature, I'm learning about all these different concepts. It's a very intimidating experience. The mountain at the bottom, when you take your first step on the path, that mountain looks very, 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 very large. But don't let that stop you. You have to take that first step, that next step, and that next step. Even when ordeals come, even when you get trials and tribulations, even when life throws you a shitty hand, you have to step up and do what you need to do for yourself. You need to continue forward. In terms of initiation, just don't have fear, just do it. It is basically what the text is saying, that it may feel like you're putting your head down on the altar and expecting the sweep of a sword, but the nature of Ra-Hoor-Khuit is that you're going to be fine. Your soul is immortal anyway, so even if you are not physically fine for some reason, right, if you hit an ordeal so hard that you can't conquer, you will conquer it eventually. It may not be this incarnation, but you will conquer it eventually. And it will ultimately feel like that love's first kiss, especially, and then again, there's symbolism coming in with the holy guardian angel, that you're expecting the sweep of the sword being Zayin, which is the lover's cards. So there's a lot of symbolism with union of the initiate and the holy guardian angel, and the kiss, which you'll see in the Wake World by Crowley. There's a lot of that symbolism of kiss, and that's what allows Lola and her Ichi to progress to the next sphere and come closer into that state of union. Verse 18, only those who fear shall fail. Those who have bent their backs to the yoke of slavery until they can no longer stand upright, them will I despise. As I was saying before, on fear is failure. Fear, only those who fear shall fail. So you need to, regardless of whatever you're feeling or experiencing, you need to do your true will. Once you know what that is, you need to do it no matter what. And then there are those that Ra-Hoor-Khuit and even Nuit will take unto them, and then there are those that are going to get the short end of the stick, or the yoke, right? Those who have bent their backs to the yoke of slavery until they can no longer stand upright, them will I despise. In the 3rd chapter of the Book of the Law, towards the opening, Ra-Hoor-Khuit or Hera uses that statement, I shall deal hardly with them. And so here we get a nature of those who he's going to deal hardly with. And it's basically those who are not liberating themselves, those who are not embracing their nature, those who are not doing their true will. We all know at some level something about ourselves that we should be doing. And a lot of us succumb to fear of what others are going to think of us. Is that okay? I was raised Christian, and that's not okay by Christianity, and so I can't do that. I have to fit into this fictitious box that my parents and peers have put me in since I'm a child, and it's uncomfortable. I don't fit in this box, but it's the only thing I've ever known, so I'll just stay in the box. And all of these fucking warped thoughts, this insanity. And, well, so that's slavery. Living inside that box, afraid to come out of it, that's slavery. That's the antithesis to liberty, is I'm just going to allow others to stuff me in a box, and I'll exist there because as long as I stay here, they'll be okay with it. And it's like, fuck them. Who cares what the hell they think? They're fucking assholes anyway. They want to put you in a box. Why would you care two shits what they think? I don't care if it's my parents. I don't care if it's a friend. I don't care who it is. If you don't accept me for who I am, why do I want you in my life? You're dirt to me, right? So that's essentially what that is saying. Verse 19, but you who have defied the law, you who have conquered by subtlety or force, you will I take unto me, even I will take you unto me. I ask you to sacrifice nothing at mine altar. I am the God who giveth all. Light, life, love, force, fantasy, fire. These do I bring you. Mine hands are full of these. So, it could be debatable. You who have defied the law, what law is being talked about? Is it at some point in attainment transcending the word of the Magus and coming into union with Kether? Is that what's being talked about? That could be debatable, because there could be several interpretations. It could be physical laws that, hey, my true will is illegal. There was a time where you couldn't write or paint certain things, but I'm a writer who needs to write this book, and I'm going to be persecuted if I write it. Well, sometimes you need to write what you need to write because it's your true will, and if physical laws don't like it, well, okay, it's going to suck, but I have to do this. I have to do this thing, right? So it could be talking about physical laws, but I'm more inclined to think that it's talking about the law of the Magus and transcending the sphere of Chachma into Kether. And so Ra-Hoor-Khuit or Ra-Ra is essentially giving a very interesting insight into their nature as an aspect of Kether, which is pretty surreal and pretty interesting. I ask you to sacrifice nothing at mine altar. I am the God who giveth all. Very interesting, because in the book of the law, in verse 12, Ra-Hoor-Khuit, or Iowa speaking on behalf of Ra, verse 12 says, sacrifice cattle, little and big, after a child. Now, of course, child is not human. It's talking about sex magic, the dove, all of that symbolism. You can see the bloody sacrifice, on which I have a video about on this channel that explains the whole concept, dropping from the host of heaven, so to speak. But he does inform Crowley to sacrifice a cattle, little and big. But he's telling the rest of humanity, I don't require any sacrifices. But it closes with, I'm the God who giveth all. So on one side, I look at deities in general as personifications of aspects of nature. They are as communicable as any person. You could interact with them, you could see them, you could talk to them, you can invoke them. They have a personality, they have a nature, they are an objective being. On the other side, they are part of the universe, just like we're part of the universe. They're just function slightly differently. And so Ra-Hoor-Khuit saying, I'm the God who giveth all, is saying, okay, Nuit is infinite space, Hadith is that center of the universe, that spark of light in the heart of every man, in the core of every star. Well, when you do your will, you're interacting with that external world, that infinite space, in some capacity. And the result of your actions are the child, Heru-Raha. So it's another omnipresent entity that is there. So whatever you do, you are going to get the result of that. He gives all. So when you're doing your true will, you get the result of your true will. When you don't do your true will, well, you don't get the result of that, ultimately. You're still going to get something. Don't get me wrong. You're going to get wisdom to your folly, but you're not going to get the result of your true will if you're not doing your true will. Verse 21. Light, life, love, force, fantasy, fire. These do I bring you. Mine hands are full of these. Very interesting. I mean, it's straightforward in a sense. I bring you light, I bring you life, I bring you love. You have to know what those concepts are. Light exists on a physical plane, an astral plane, a solar plane, and a divine plane. Right? So there are different aspects of life. Life is what it sounds like, in my opinion. Life is life. And love is the union of opposites. Right? There's many different, there's agape, there's many different types of love, but in terms of thelemic magic and ritual and doing true will, it's the union of two things: my will with some physical matter and causing a change to occur. What I find very interesting is that force, fantasy, fire. So these 6 things, he has, that his hands are full of these. And there's also the symbolism in the Book of the Law. My left hand is empty, for I have crushed the universe, and naught remains. Now, here's something very, very interesting. Light, life, love, force, fantasy, fire. 3 L's. L is 90. Lamed, lamed, lamed. 30 times 3, 90. Force, fantasy, fire. F in Greek is diagramma, is a placeholder letter, and its value is 6, so it's the same as Vav. So 6, 6, 6. Not to be confused with the solar 666. Vav being nail is the nails of the crucifixion. It is very solar in that sense. But when you add to it, so his hands are full of these. 90 plus 18, 666 is 18, 30, 30, 30 is 90, 90 plus 18 is 108. 108 is a very, very important number in Buddhism and Hinduism, specifically Vedic cosmology. According to Vedic cosmology, 108 is actually the basis of creation. It represents the universe and all existence. I forget the exact specifics, but I forget if it's like, if you take the Earth, the sun is 108 Earths away from the Earth, so it's something to that effect. But ultimately what the number 108 refers to in those systems of philosophical thought, or 108 is all of creation, all of existence. The entire universe is encapsulated in the symbolism of the number of 108. So his hands are full of these. And as I said before from the Book of the Law, my left hand is empty, for I have crushed an universe. So there's a lot of symbolism going on with that. Hand is the letter Yod, right? Fist, a closed fist, is in crushed. You could say Kaf is a palm, but hand is usually associated with the letter Yod, which has many fire associations, including the sphere of Chakma, which the tip of the Yod touches Kether. So there's some very rich symbolism on hitting nirvana, hitting the ultimate source of creation, transcending reality, and coming into union with the source of divine light. Alright, so this has been about 43 minutes of recording. I'm going to actually take a break here, and I'll pick up tomorrow. So I'll upload this video as part 1, and then I'll continue with a part 2, which should be up. I'll hopefully get to record either tomorrow or Saturday, either January 10th or 11th, and I'll upload that one as soon as possible. So I hope that this has been interesting for you. If you're getting something out of this, do the like, subscribe, share, all of those things that help the channel. If you're interested in supporting my art, you could go to Boleskine Works at boleskine.net, and you could check out art. You could also check out the occult jewelry that my fiance makes and produces, sells on that website. So with that, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Love is the law, love under will.